In 1979, one of the most dramatic political transformations of the 20th century took place in Iran. A monarchy that had ruled for decades collapsed within months. In its place emerged an Islamic Republic that would reshape the country's politics, society, and global relations. But historians still debate an important question. Was the Iranian Revolution truly a spontaneous uprising of the people, or was it a carefully shaped political transformation? To understand the revolution, we must first understand Iran before 1979. During the mid-20th century, Iran was ruled by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The Shah was a powerful monarch who pursued rapid modernization. His government launched large economic and social reforms known as the White Revolution. These reforms aimed to modernize Iran's economy, expand education, and promote industrial growth. Cities expanded, infrastructure improved, and Iran became a strategic ally of Western powers, particularly the United States. However, modernization also created tension. Many religious leaders believed the reforms weakened Islamic traditions. At the same time, political opposition was suppressed. The Shah's secret police, known as Savak, monitored critics and controlled dissent. For many Iranians, modernization came with political repression. By the 1970s, dissatisfaction was growing among multiple groups. Religious leaders criticized the government's secular policies. Students and intellectuals demanded greater political freedom. Workers and middle-class citizens protested rising inequality and economic instability. These frustrations began to converge. One of the most influential critics of the Shah was a religious scholar named Ayatollah Khomeini. Khomeini strongly opposed the Shah's policies and the influence of Western powers in Iran. In 1964, he was forced into exile. Yet his influence continued to grow. Through recorded speeches and written messages, Khomeini communicated with supporters inside Iran. These messages spread widely through mosques and underground networks. By the late 1970s, protests against the Shah were increasing. In 1978, demonstrations erupted across several Iranian cities. Initially, protests were led by students and religious groups. Soon, strikes and mass demonstrations began to paralyze the country. Millions of people joined the protests. Factories stopped operating. Government institutions became unstable. The Shah's government struggled to restore control. Security forces attempted to suppress demonstrations, but the protests only grew larger. Large segments of Iranian society were united in opposition to the monarchy. However, other scholars suggest the situation was more complex. They argue that revolutionary networks had been organizing for years. Religious institutions, political activists, and underground groups were already mobilizing support. These networks helped coordinate protests and spread revolutionary messaging. His departure marked the collapse of the monarchy. Soon after, Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile. Millions of supporters gathered to welcome him. Within weeks, the old political system disintegrated. Military leaders declared neutrality. In April 1979, a national referendum was held. The new government introduced a unique political system combining religious authority with republican institutions. Ayatollah Khomeini became the supreme leader, holding significant influence over the country's political structure. For supporters, the revolution represented liberation. They believed Iran had regained independence from foreign influence and restored Islamic values. For critics, however, the revolution replaced one form of authoritarian rule with another. Political opposition was limited. Many revolutionary groups that initially supported the movement were later marginalized. The Iranian Revolution also had major international consequences. In 1979, the U.S. Embassy hostage crisis shocked the world and deepened tensions between Iran and the United States. Since then, Iran has remained a central player in Middle Eastern politics. Today, historians still debate its true nature. Was it a grassroots movement driven by millions of citizens, or was it a political transformation guided by powerful ideological networks? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. What is certain is that the Iranian Revolution changed Iran permanently, and its impact is still felt today. But revolutions rarely follow simple paths. They are shaped by social pressure, political leadership, and historical momentum. The Iranian Revolution remains one of the most fascinating examples of how rapidly a nation's destiny can change. The dust of the 1979 revolution had barely settled before Iran was plunged into a new, brutal reality. The Iran-Iraq War. Saddam Hussein, seeing a chance to exploit Iran's post-revolutionary chaos, invaded in 1980. This wasn't just a border dispute. It became an 8-year-long war of attrition that cost hundreds of thousands of lives on both sides. For the fledgling Islamic Republic, the war was a crucible. It allowed Khomeini to consolidate power, rallying the nation against a foreign aggressor. The war forged a new national identity, deeply intertwined with sacrifice, martyrdom, and resistance themes that continue to echo in Iran today. After Khomeini's death in 1989, the new supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, took over, and the country entered a new phase. The Reconstruction era began, focused on rebuilding the war-torn economy. This period also saw the rise of different political factions within the Islamic Republic. The reformists, who pushed for more social and political freedoms, and the conservatives who sought to preserve the revolution's core Islamic values. This internal push and pull has defined Iranian politics for decades, leading to periods of cautious opening, like under President Khatami in the late 90s, followed by periods of conservative globally. The revolution redrew the map of the Middle East. Iran transformed from a key U.S. ally under the Shah to a staunch adversary. Its model of a Shia Islamic Republic inspired movements across the region, while also creating deep anxieties among its Sunni-led neighbors, particularly Saudi Arabia. This rivalry has fueled proxy conflicts from Lebanon and Syria to Yemen, shaping regional geopolitics to this day. Meanwhile, Iran's pursuit of a nuclear program has put it on a collision course with Western powers, leading to crippling economic sanctions that have deeply impacted the lives of ordinary Iranians. So, what is the legacy of the Iranian Revolution? It's complicated. For some, it was a triumphant act of self-determination, throwing off the yoke of foreign domination and creating a government based on religious principles. For others, it was a dream of freedom betrayed, replacing one form of autocracy with another. The revolution undeniably empowered a segment of society that had been marginalized under the Shah, but it also led to the suppression of dissent and the exodus of millions. Today, Iran stands at a crossroads, grappling with economic hardship, social unrest, and international isolation. The ideals and contradictions born in 1979 continue to shape its path, and the world is still watching. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical deep dives.